Hi everybody, I'm Freeze, and today I'm presenting to you Numark's iDJ Pro, a dedicated hardware controller for Algorithm's DJ app. iDJ Pro can be used with all iPads, but today I'm using an iPad 3. First of all, let's look at the front and rear panels of the iDJ Pro. On the rear of the unit, we have XLR and RCA outputs. On the front of the unit, if you want to connect your iPod or computer, we have an auxiliary input with accompanying volume knob. We also have a microphone input with mic gain and mic tone adjustments. And lastly, we have the 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch jacks for your headphones. We give you a dedicated Q mix knob where you can dial in your Q or master mix and adjust the volume of your headphone with the Q gain knob. Let's get started by loading some tracks. We have a load button for the left deck and a load button for the right deck. Pressing load 1 will bring up your iTunes playlist. You can then use the browse encoder to dial in the track you want. Once you find that track, press load 1 and it'll load to that deck. We can also load tracks from the iPad. Once your playlist comes up, you can use your finger to scroll, and you can tap on a track and it'll load that track to that deck. Now that I've loaded a couple of tracks, I want to set my initial cue point to the beginning of the track. We do that by dialing in, finding our place, setting the cue point, test it out, and let it rip. Sounds good. For volume control, we've given you these old school rotary knobs. Very smooth, very nice. You know, I'm noticing the song is not as loud as my other tracks. Luckily, we have on-screen gain adjustment. Touch, bring it up, and there you go. We've also given you 3-band EQ. You have your bass, your mids, and your trebles. We also have a fully adjustable crossfade. If you're a hip-hop DJ, we've given you a cut mode. If you're a house DJ, we have a long fade mode. And for all you hamster DJs, we've given you that as well. Now let's move on to the next section. It houses the transport controls and hot cues. You have your standard play pause button. You have your set initial cue point, return to cue point. Above that are the hot cues. You can set those on the fly or beforehand. You can play with it. You can also delete hot cues on the fly and reset them. Another important thing about hot cues is that it allows us to get to parts of the song that are important to us, like a break, which I've done beforehand. And still, you can set it on the fly, so have fun with it. At some point, you're going to want to mix 2 songs together, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Real easy. First of all, let's play the song. We give you standard controls like pitch fader. You can also adjust it with the pitch bend buttons, or you can use the side of the platter. So now that you see the tools, I want to mix 2 songs together. Right now you can see the songs I have loaded are in varying BPMs. We need to match them in order for them to mix. So I'm going to grab the pitch fader and speed it up. As you can see, the numbers are increasing. Once your numbers match, you're going to see that the sync button has come on. Easy peasy. Once they're matched up, you're able to mix. If you don't want to go through all of that, you can return the pitch fader to 0, hit the sync button, and again, they're at the same tempo. So now that they're matched up, we can mix them. I'm going to do that for you right now. Sounds good? I'm going to fade out the old song. Good. Now once we're over, I'm going to want to reset the sync. So it's easy to do. You just bring it down, and now your sync is reset. Another cool feature, besides the pitch bending and the mixing of the platter, very good for scratching, and I want to show that to you really quickly. There's a cool option here, loading doubles. The same song is now on both decks. The platters have a couple more features. If you disengage scratch, the top now becomes pitch bend. If you hold shift and press scratch, you can now scrub forward and backwards in your track and stay in time. The next section we're hitting is the looping section. iDJ Pro gives us 3 ways of doing loops. The first one is manual looping. You have your loop in, loop out, and reloop buttons. Set an in point, set an out point. If you want to get out of the loop, hit the auto button. And if you ever want to return to your loop, just hit reloop. The second type of loop I want to talk about is auto looping. Auto looping is determined by the value you see here on screen. It's also adjustable with these halve and double buttons. In order to engage, you just hit the auto button. And while within that loop, you can halve it or double it. Get out of it in the same fashion, and if you have to re-loop, hit the re-loop. The last loop I want to get into are stutter rolls. Very cool, my favorite. All you have to do is hit Shift and hit one of the buttons that we've already explored. If you can see below the buttons, we have time divisions. Just have fun with it. Easy peasy. Next, let's talk about effects. There are 3 dedicated effect sections that can be used simultaneously. I'm gonna play some music. First effect is up top. Tap on screen. Select which effect you want. I'm gonna choose flanger. Close the effect. Off to the right are your parameter knobs. So to engage the effect, we push the FX button. And we can use the knob to dial in the parameter. And to disengage the effect, we just hit the FX button. The next effect is a dedicated filter knob on both decks. You have your standard low pass and high pass filter. Next, we're going to talk about interactive effects. They're mapped to an XY pad on screen, and you can dial in which effect you want. Up here, I'm going to choose Echo, and all you need to do is swipe your finger across the XY pad. And it's going to make cool sounding effects. The last effect we're going to use is instant effects. These are preconceived effect chains that do magical things when you tap the buttons. And as I said before, all these effects can be used simultaneously. Next, I want to talk about the sampler. To get there, you just tap here on the middle of the screen and it brings up the sampler section. You have 8 independent triggers. To launch them, all you have to do is tap on screen. You can also edit each trigger and load a different sample. So let's do foghorn. Hit done, fire off that foghorn. It's also cool that you can load your own samples via iTunes. And there you have a brief overview of Numark's iDJ Pro. Before we leave, I want to show you a couple of other features. We have Master Tempo that allows you to change the tempo without affecting pitch. We also have waveform zooming that allows you to get in on the waveform, closer look. And we also have an auto mix feature. This allows you to select a playlist and various transition types, and it'll auto mix that playlist for you. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Word to your mother.
The CDJ 900 Nexus is the latest in our range of industry-standard media players for DJs. It's packed full of brand new and cutting-edge technology, bringing it up to date with the rest of our Nexus lineup. The previous CDJ 900 and 2000 introduced network capabilities that enable 4 players to access a single USB music library. Along with the new Nexus versions, all of these players can also access your master rekordbox library on Mac or PC, just like a USB drive. Using a single LAN cable for each, connect 2 laptops at once for seamlessly changing DJs. You then have the choice to browse and load from your extensive collection from either the player or the computer interface. But if you want to leave your laptop at home and have your favorite playlists with you at all times, you can also export your Rekordbox library onto smartphone or tablets. So if you get a last-minute chance to play, the CDJ 900 and 2000 Nexus can play straight from your phone. Again, you can use the CDJ or Rekordbox touchscreen interface to browse and load tracks. Having Rekordbox on your phone means you can download, import and edit tracks wherever you are. The CDJs even charge most devices, so now you can play from USB, CD, but also Rekordbox on Mac or PC, or Apple and Android smartphones and tablets. All of our digital players will play MP3, AAC, but also studio quality 24-bit WAV and AIFF music files for the very best sound on the market. The biggest change to the hardware is the new high-quality color screen. Just like the CDJ 2000 Nexus, this screen displays a full waveform where you can adjust Rekordbox beat grids, view track artwork, and lots of other information like harmonic key. It really is the best way to interact with huge lists of music and see all the extra information you want at your disposal. When it comes to playing, the added sync function is the ultimate creative tool. It's ideal for 4-deck mashups or live remixing and works from Rekordbox analyzed beat grids. With your mix locked in time, the added quantize button helps keep all the effects, cue points and loops on beat. The Auto Beat Loop section from the CDJ 900 has been completely overhauled to offer new creative looping effects. They're based on the same beat division buttons, but we think they're easier to use, more instantaneous, and the results sound much better. Pressing any of the timing buttons instantly toggles on the new beat divide effect, which slices up each beat by that timing and repeats the first chunk. It applies this roll effect to every beat and continues as the music plays, constantly changing the sound with every beat and bar. Switch on slip mode and beat divide changes into a slip loop effect. Engage any of the timings and the track will instantly loop. Unlike the previous 900, the 900 Nexus switches back to the music when you let go of the button. The looping section has been upgraded to the same specification as the CDJ 2000, and with quantize on, all loop timings will be perfectly on beat using Rekordbox Analyze Music. Press the loop cutter button once to get an instant 4-beat loop. Press it again and it halves the loop each time. Hold loop out and press loop cutter again to double the length with each press. You can also half and double your loop using the cool left and right arrows. You can also go fully manual with the traditional loop, in, out and exit controls, and press either of these buttons again to adjust the in and out point with the jog wheel as a smooth sweep. Slip mode keeps the music playing muted in the background so you only hear the looping, and when you exit the loop, the music comes back in on time. Slip also works with the play pause button so you can add break stops in time with the beat. You can also scratch on the lead up to a drop without altering the bars and phrasing. The CDJ 900 Nexus has been heavily modified to make it a lot more fun to use, with some really creative effects to create studio quality re-edits live. Sync, slip and quantize make it possible to be more creative and add more combination effects and tricks to your mixes. And the new Kuvo capabilities for broadcasting your track info to the cloud make it a club class player at a lower price than the flagship CDJ 2000 Nexus.
My name is Chuck D from the group Public Enemy. Planet Earth is where I'm at. I'm an Eartherson, so I'm not really any government citizen of any type. Yeah, I have a U.S. passport. They play games with that. You're like, well, take your passport away, you know. Human beings have a difficulty visiting Earth.
I got no fancy car, never was no superstar. Got no Grammy trophy, got no...
I was born in 1960. Everything was at a crossroads. The first 10 years of my life was actually somebody who had Negro on a birth certificate. And by the time I was 9 and 10, and everything was black. And a lot of the reasons were cultural, and the culture followed the movement of people fighting for equal rights, not more rights, equal rights. I had parents that were able to interpret the surrounding world and life for me, which was good. Culture was always in the house, and music was always in the house, because culture and music can actually answer the questions that society couldn't answer themselves.
I testified, my mama cried, black people died when the other man lied. See the TV, listen to me, double trouble.
I didn't come into the music recording industry because I wanted to actually get a record deal. I was repeatedly requested by Rick Rubin to actually become part of the Def Jam fold in its very beginning. I actually tried to be a behind-the-scenes person because I was very much into the belief of knowing that we can build some structures that were right. We came in, I said, look, if I'm going to actually be a recording artist, it's going to be this way or ain't going to be no other way. The whole key is with technology is to be on top of it, but still, be grounded in the reasons why you do it in the first place. So when we actually got involved in digital, we saw that a lot of areas of analog and our contracts that were attached to them not only did not work, it didn't even work for them, and it was totally robbing us. So we said, yo, man, we gotta hit people directly, man, because people are online, email. Somebody, over there in the Netherlands, they just saw your show. Or they were asking when you could come back. I wanna be able to not have my art shut down from ineptitude.
Here come the drums.
First time I ever saw a DJ, 1976. This guy that was behind this thing with a light in his face, playing my favorite song, but it kept going on and on. I said, that record had to be about this big, man. I was like, what is he doing? And he would go from one side and to one side and to one side. Then he would talk on top of the instrumental. And I was like, how big is this record? And I could not conceive what a DJ was until I walked up there and I said, okay, he's got 2 turntables. I understand what a turntable does because he's playing this record, so when that record's over, he'll play that record. Nah, he had the 2 of the same records.
Come on. Never been up a...
See, I'm old enough to tell you how it was and still kind of here to tell you how it's gonna be. People are like, Chuck, you don't smoke, you don't drink, you never did. Why? There's a reason. I said, I don't smoke anything, I just smoke stages. Creators don't necessarily need to be entertained by anybody else. The DJ is a perfect example of that. They create, they entertain, it comes from within. Hip hop is really, be yourself. Deliver from your insides. That's the whole basis of Public Enemy and the cultures that we come out of. You do it because it answers to you. I believe that music and culture brings us together as human beings, and that's our similarity as human beings, and knocks the stupid ass differences to the side.
In this video, we'll show you the basic playback functions of Serato DJ. For help with any features in Serato DJ you're unsure about, and to check out the keyboard shortcuts, hit the Tooltips button at the top of the screen. Hover your mouse over features to check out what they do and to learn the shortcuts. On startup, you'll see either 2 or 4 virtual decks depending on your controller. To choose between either 2 or 4 deck view, go to the top left-hand corner of the screen and select either 2 or 4. Once you've loaded a track to a virtual deck, the track name, artist, length, and BPM are displayed in the track title bar. If any of this information is not contained in the file, it will not be displayed. If a track has no BPM information stored, tap is displayed where the BPM would usually be shown in the track display area. Click this button and hit the spacebar in time with the track to manually set the tempo. Press Enter to save to the file. To load a track, you can drag and drop the file you want to play, or use the relevant track load buttons on your Serato DJ controller. Alternatively, load your track using the keyboard shortcuts, which can be found in the tooltips. When using 4-deck view mode, you will notice 2 of the 4 decks have a blue border. These are the active decks. All controls on your Serato DJ controller and all keyboard shortcuts will apply to these. To unload a track on a virtual deck, press the eject button on the screen or use the keyboard shortcut. Use the repeat button to turn on the repeat feature. This will play the loaded track again from the start when it finishes. Analyze your files in the offline player to calculate BPMs for your tracks. To manually add the BPM value, just double-click in the BPM column of the library and type in the BPM. You can also tap the BPM. Click on the Tap Tempo button and either click on the button or tap the spacebar in time with the beat. To save it, just press Enter. The playback speed of the track is controlled by the pitch slider on the Serato DJ hardware controller. Moving the slider or knob will speed up or slow down the track. You can adjust the pitch range using the relative pitch range buttons on the Serato DJ controller. The BPM displayed on the virtual deck reflects the pitch movement. Turn on key lock for a deck by clicking the key lock button next to that virtual deck. This keeps the track in the same key regardless of your pitch adjustments. Hit play to start your track playing on the virtual deck, and again to pause. You can do this using your hardware controls, in the software, or using the keyboard shortcuts. You can set a temporary cue at the beginning of your track, so it's easy to return to the start by pressing the cue button on your controller while the track is paused. Use this to cue your track or to return to that point while the track is playing. To activate other playback features like instant doubles and break speed, you'll need to open up the setup screen. You will find these settings in the setup menu under the DJ Preferences tab. You can adjust the break speed by adjusting the start time dial or the stop time dial. This adjusts how quickly the track starts up or slows down when you hit play or pause. When you select instant doubles, you can load the same track to the second deck and keep it perfectly in time. Either drag and drop the track from the existing virtual deck or load it from the library using the shortcut keys. That's a brief run-through of the basic playback controls in Serato DJ. For more help, head to serato.com/support.
Hey everybody, Adam from Numark here. Going to show you briefly about our Numark Mixed Track Controller with our Virtual DJ LE software out of the box. The software is already installed on the computer. You'll notice here that we have our controller hooked up with the USB cable right here and ready to go. Quick thing to mention about Virtual DJ LE is that when you first launch the program, right, to appropriately engage some of the knobs and sliders, it's good to, before you get started, move some of these to properly engage them in the software to make sure that you have appropriate control over most of your parameters. Once that's done, we're pretty much good to get going. So, brief overview of what we got here. Real quick, right here in the center you'll notice that we have a lot of the standard features that you'd find on a regular DJ mixer. Starting at the top here, for either side, deck A and deck B, you have treble, mid, and bass EQ control. And then you also have your gain slider for each deck. This is the master slider in the middle, and your crossfader just below that to go from one deck to the next. At the top of each side, identical controls for deck A and deck B. Your top row of buttons here, your hot cues, so you can place your cue points throughout your song. Your next row, there's a button, three knobs here for your effect control. Here's where you engage it, turn it on or off. You can select the desired effect in the software, and you have 2 control knobs to adjust parameters of that effect. Just below that, there are 4 buttons here for loop controls, manual and auto, and for more information on that, you can refer to your quick start guide out of the box. Just to my left, your right, we have pitch bend, nudge buttons up top here to adjust the song, and as well as a tempo and pitch slider here. Just below that, we have our touch-sensitive jog wheel, and you'll notice the scratch button down here on either side, right? With scratch engaged, when you touch the platter, you'll have scratch capabilities of the song in the software. When you turn it off, you touch the jog wheel, and you can use that as an additional pitch adjustment. And then when the song's not playing, you can use this to seek, quickly locate a point in the song that you want to hit. Just below the jog wheel, you have your 4 buttons here: sync, cue, your play pause, and your stutter button. For more details on these, please refer to your quick start guide. And that's roughly, in a nutshell, your mix track. So additionally, at the top of our mix track controller here, you'll notice these 2 knobs. We have our cue gain and cue mix knob, and then to the left and right of your browser knob, you have 2 buttons labeled cue. And what that does is when you have it set up with an external audio interface that allows for multiple outputs, much like our Numark DJ.io, you can set up a separate headphone mix to preview your songs while the other one's going out to the main house and the audience. So basically with the cue gain, this tells you how loud your headphones are going to be. Your cue mix, this allows you to hear in your headphones what's coming out to the master, and then also what is coming out to the designated deck. And you have your cue buttons to toggle between which deck you're hearing in your headphones with the mix knob over here. For more information on setting up a separate headphone mix with an external audio device, visit numark.com for more information.